Yeah, I'll put your waypoint right about there.
All right, we've got a bit of a pilot handover happening here. So for anyone who's just joining us, we're about 2.8 kilometers below the surface of the Pacific Ocean off of Costa Rica. We are revisiting the outcrop that we were at 2 dives ago, and we found not only active venting here, but another octopus garden, a nursery where the females are all brooding their eggs. So we dropped off some experiments at that site earlier this dive, and now we're kind of paused here while we take a look at sampling some of this coral, but then I believe we're gonna go explore a little more and take more samples.
We're gonna do a little bit more exploring, maybe a lap around it, and then maybe. I mean, it's not that far to get to that waypoint. Yeah. If we see shimmering, yep, and then. Yeah, and that's if there's a new site, exactly. So it's all if then. Yeah, we hit 7 earlier today. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot. If there is another event site we haven't been to,
não faz grande ninguém.
Or on the way down, because we're going to kind of head out. We haven't been on that line. Maybe then we get into all of this. Yeah.
There's a good look at the camera that we watch these things out of.
All right. So we are in the midst of ship change. So it's a pleasure spending an hour with everyone, and I'll be back when we do heat flow measurements at the base of the outcrop. Have a great morning.
So hi everyone, I'll be swapping into the next hour. I'm Emily Cowell, a PhD student from Temple University in Philadelphia. I'll be snapping off a rock to try and get a coral sample.
They say that it's not possible to break it off, so they are going to try to scar it.
Okay, cool. What are these called?
The coral, yeah, it's a soft coral, but it's I think it's not that it's sort of something.
Okay, kind of an encrusting soft coral.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
01 ela. Bem-vindo a leitão.arte.
So there's some interest in
Cata.
sampling this kind of white
Bem-vindo a
encrusting
leitão.arte.
soft coral. All of these polyps that you can see growing across the rocks here. Oh, got a little octopus visitor. So we're just looking for an area. The rock seems very hard here, so it seems like we're maybe not going to be able to break off the rock potentially, but we'll see. But we're at least going to try and sort of scrape some of these polyps off. So the question in the chat about my area of expertise. I primarily focus on methane seeps, so slightly different to what we're looking at here, but similar in terms of some of the organisms that we find and the fact that we've got this fluid outflow. The seeps I've actually looked at are a little south of here, still off the Pacific coast of Costa Rica. But we're noticing so far that some of the fauna, like the crustaceans, does seem to be pretty similar between the sites that I primarily study and up here, so that's pretty interesting. Sounds good.
Olha a água, olha a água, olha a água, R$2. Olha a água, olha a água, olha a água, água. Oi! Hein? Você leu aqui? Água R$2. R$2.
Aliceidra. Bem-vindo a leitão.art.
So I think we're just seeing now if we can actually break off a section of this rock, since it seems sort of slightly separate to the rest of the formation, but it's looking tricky so far. Yep, there's a red brittle star just sort of peeking into view, top left. Whoa. These are an interesting group of corals because unlike most corals that where the polyps kind of grow into a big, maybe a fan kind of formation, live in these big colonies, these seem to be individual corals that grow encrusting, individual polyps, sorry, that grow encrusting on the rocks and are connected together by a sort of network of little filaments. You can see when you touch the coral there, the polyps retract. So coral, for anyone that doesn't know, it's not a plant. Each of those individual little star-shaped polyps are an animal. In shallow waters, they have typically bacterial symbionts that are photosynthetic, that provide them a food source. In the deep sea, they usually don't have, certainly the thinking is that they usually don't have symbionts because there's no light for the photosynthesis to occur. There is question about whether some of them have chemosynthetic symbionts, but I think that's sometimes still up for debate. But instead they tend to be sort of particle feeders. They'll feed from particles floating around in the water column. So I think we've changed tactic here and we're just going to see if we can scrape a few of these polyps off the rock instead. Oh. Some more questions in the chat about the brittle stars as well while we're here. Yep, they certainly have the ability to move a bit faster than your normal sea stars. Sea stars move with their tube feet system that they manipulate with kind of changes in water pressure through a series of water channels. Brittle stars actually don't move like that at all. They sort of drag themselves across the sediment with their arms. They're very mobile. And they have even been seen kind of swimming around in the water column, which is pretty cool. Just trying to get this bit of coral detached from the manipulator arm. The these sort of squishy fingers on the right-hand manipulator are really useful for corals. Although it does sometimes mean that they get a bit stuck. But you've got this kind of snipping mechanism at the back that's facing us that you can see that is used to snip the base of the coral. And then these squishy fingers allow you to hold the fragile section of the coral that you've broken off without damaging it. Each of the sub's manipulator arms has different sort of uses. The other one's much more like a metal claw.
Very interesting because every discover most of the rock are just in this place. So that's why we want to collect more samples.
Yeah. So we haven't seen lots of these in other places around this site?
No, not like this.
No? Okay.
So yesterday, but few, but probably different species. And the thing is that we need a polyp for RNA, a polyp for DNA, a polyp for microbiome.
That's the problem.
So we
They're so
run out of
small.
polyps.
So I'm just being told by Odie here that she's particularly interested in this spot here for these corals because we haven't seen them in such high densities yet. We've seen corals that certainly are similar to this, at least yesterday, but just a few of them kind of encrusting on a rock. And it's tricky because they're quite difficult to get off because they're this encrusting type. But you end up needing an individual coral polyp for each of the things you want to do. So if you say wanted to do microbiome study, DNA extraction, you would need multiple polyps. So that's why we're trying to grab a few from this site before we move on. Looks like some sort of little polychaete there, polychaete worm as well, moving around in amongst everything.
Going to collect something like this is always a good reminder that we're frequently quite zoomed in on the camera, and it makes these items look very large. But many of the things we're collecting or attempting to collect are very small, and you're using a robot that's almost 3 kilometers away to try and collect these very delicate little things.
It always amazes me how responsive the equipment is to be able to be at those kind of distances from what you're sampling, but still be able to make these really precise movements.
Yeah. I mean, there's a question yesterday about how much lag there was, and maybe the pilots, like, is there really any noticeable lag now? Yeah. Well, obviously for your job there shouldn't be any, right? But not even a really perceivable one, because there's what 6 kilometers of umbilical, and it's
Hi, Steve.
fiber optic, so it's traveling 6 kilometers at the speed of light, essentially, which is nothing.
No, it doesn't look like it. Oh, that's a pretty big one. So it looks like we're going for this pretty big coral polyp there in the middle of the screen, in the hopes that that's a little bit easier to get off. Especially with the position it's in, kind of hanging off the edge of the rock there. Woohoo! Fantastic.
Real nice. There was a good look at the blades on the back of that manipulator there too.
And you can see the coral just peeking out the top of there, being held in those squishy fingers. So it's not being damaged too much by the manipulator arm.
There it goes.
Perfect.
Nice.
Well done.
There's another one. You want to grab that one? It's okay, but if you can take another one, because now you have to train.
We've decided to strike while Ben is all ready to go. Gonna try and collect one more of these, it sounds like.
Oop.
Very steep rock slope on our left there where we have the ram. You can see it just came into left frame there, and you can actually see that there are like a little teeth on the bottom to try and grip on that stone, but it's quite smooth over there.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're just going after these, just where the lasers are pointing now. We're going after one of those larger polyps there. For anyone wondering, those two green dots are actually 10 centimeter scale lasers. So it allows us to point the lasers at an organism that we're interested in and realize that that's 10 centimeters in width, so we can kind of estimate the size of any organisms we're looking at without necessarily having to collect them. It also helps because sometimes with their pressure and temperature changes, organisms look slightly different when they come up versus when they're in situ. So it's nice to get a good view of an organism before we collect it with the lasers on and off.
This is like a science camp. This is like the best one. This one's kind of more just for us. This one is better.
Mm-hmm. Looks like we're going for this one in the front here. It's actually a cluster of various polyps I can see from the brow camera view that we have in the ROV van.
Yeah, let's see. I can toss one of those over.
So yeah, just in the stream there, it looks like we've changed over to the brow cam. View quick, just to give you an idea of the different viewpoints that we get. All of these different cameras allow the ROV pilots in particular to get various views from different angles. So they can sort of put together a more 3D picture of what they're looking at. And it helps them with depth perception when they're doing a sample. Again, sometimes it takes a bit of persuasion to get the coral polyps out of the manipulator. These squishy fingers are sometimes just too good. Don't want to let go. Do you end up having to replace the padded bits on this?
Yeah, we 3D print them.
Yeah?
Yeah, and so the
Oh, okay.
step that becomes exposed.
So we're just going to, I think, do a loop around this, the top peak. Yeah, and we're looking for sites of 5 degrees or more. Yep, so once we've finished these samples, the next plan of action is we're kind of on the edge of a small summit here where we've seen venting. So our plan is to look for more spots of venting around this area. So we're going to do a small loop around the edge of the summit. And any areas that look like they might have fluid discharge occurring. So far that's been indicated by things like presence of brooding octopus or shimmering water, where you can see that the water is a slightly different temperature and density to what's coming out of the rock. And also areas of rock where the sediment has been sort of blown clean. So it looks like a darker area of rock because it doesn't have this lighter sediment lying on top of it.
Alex Silva _art.
And if we find an area like that,
Bem-vindo a
we've got a
leitão.art.
high temperature probe that we can get out, and we stick the high temperature probe into the area and register the temperature. And if it's above 5 degrees C, we'll deploy a marker so that we can come back there in the future, perhaps in our December expedition. We'll collect a couple of the squeezer samples, so they're like a sort of big syringe, which allows us to pull water up into the squeezer from a very specific spot, so right in the rock where the fluid's coming out. We'll collect a niskin, and that's a bottle located further back up on the back of the ROV, or on the side of the ROV. So it won't collect the exact sort of fluid flow that's coming out of the rock, but it will collect the water from the surrounding area. And then we'll deploy some samples. So we've got some microbio. We'll be collecting some rock samples for microbiology, and maybe deploying a temperature probe as well. And possibly having a look to see if we can find a male octopus too. Oh, oh. Hey! Breathe now. Well done.
Yes. That's it. Too much.
My nerves can't take it anymore.
Put the lid on.
Oh. Perfect.
Well done.
Nice. So they're just pulling the basket of the ROV in there that has all the sampling chambers in it. And then we're going to set off and kind of go in a loop around this top peak. And just stick the temperature probe in various things. I mean, yeah, I think that would be the first thing we would have to do if we spotted anything, so if it's easier. Mm-hmm.
See if it's a good time for lunch. Mm-hmm. It's always a good time.
the next plan is just to go around in a circle around this peak and temperature
Scope it out.
probe some
Okay.
spots.
Sounds like a good time for lunch.
I would say so.
Yeah.
So this is the high temperature probe. We're just getting this out because as we travel around the top of this peak, we're going to be looking for spots in the rock that might be worth using the temperature probe. So I think we're going to have it out and ready. Yeah. Spots that look promising. I don't know whether these like tiny little. It looks very dark around this. It seems very small. I don't know.
Want to try?
Yeah, just out of interest. So we're looking for those kind of darker areas, so it's worth a shot. It does seem like a very small gap, but it could be a small fracture that it's leaking out of. It does seem like it has no sediment really accumulating around the outside of it, so you never know. It's worth a shot. Yeah, just these holes with the sort of darker rock around them, just to see if they. It's hard to tell.
Player underline
I don't know if we
DBR.
can maybe do a quick zoom and have a look.
Bem-vindo
But
a
it's
Leitão.arte.
another indication is if there's no sediment lying on the rock around it. Yeah, could you zoom in? I don't see anything obvious, but could we just, while we're here, would it be quick to do that?
Yep.
Just because often where there's no sediment lying on it, it's sort of showing that there is maybe some coming out and pushing the sediment away, so might just be worth a quick shot.
Put in the hole.
Yes, please.
This one on top.
I guess that middle one, that's kind of the larger one.
Lower one.
The middle one would be fine. I think the larger one, maybe.
In there.
Cool. Where's the temperature reading?
I can bring it up here, but Jim, do you have it on the just on the 0.82 right there? Oh, that might be CTD temp. Yeah. Stand by.
Oh.
Upper can, my temp out like 2.78.
Okay.
Actually.
Oh,
Oh.
is it going up?
But, 3. Yeah. Yeah. there we
Round
go.
3. So it is a little higher. The ambient is what, 1.82?
Yeah.
It's not as high as is justifying us taking a sample, but that definitely is a little bit. Oh, yeah, around 3. A minute. Yeah, we're near waypoint 1, but I think a lot of them are going to be near waypoint 1. Yeah. whatever you think, and then I guess you can edit it after. But the highest reading I saw was like 3.0. Yeah. Yeah, it seemed like I think that.
2 point, yeah, that was going up.
Oh, 3.2. Oh, this one's going up a lot higher. Okay.
4.
Oh, we're getting a different reading. Oh, we
Five,
peaked
wow.
5. Well, hold on. This might be somewhere we want to get a sample then. Look at that.
Get a better angle, probably going deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Or like a
Can you use something like this? Oh, you don't even do that.
Yeah, those are very
Ram in here.
much higher readings than ambient, so there definitely is some fluid flow coming out of here. I think we're going to try and do it again.
The push one in.
Yeah, 3.08 we'll do the first one, and then we'll maybe do another. Oh, they're saying it's not new, but it's
It doesn't need an ID, but I think we were in the wrong place. Instead of switching over small old roads.
yeah, and then we're do another one of this. Because this one seems too high. Okay, so when it reaches max on this one, then we'll record another. Yeah, so it does just show. It doesn't look like much, these little holes here, but seeing areas where of these kind of darker rock where the sediment's been blown away does seem to be a pretty good indication. 5.86 looks to be the
6.01.
6.01. We'll keep it in there for just a little bit longer, maybe let it see if it goes any higher. I don't know how easy it'll be to get a squeezer sample in this tiny little gap here. I guess we can give it a go.
Yeah. I think you'll be able to do it.
Yeah? Okay. Oh, because it has like a little hose on the end of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got like just a small,
Okay.
not the hose anymore, but
Oh.
you should be able to get right over top of it.
Right, okay.
There's only, I think, the one left, which is number.
Can I pull it out? That's right.
Okay, so 6.01 for this one.
Done? Yep.
Where do you want to put it?
Okay. Is it possible to
I think you have to pick up the squeezer. Yeah.
hold on one sec. Beth's saying she doesn't want to squeeze a sample from here.
Okay.
Quite yet, I think.
All right. Continuing on then.
Just 1 second, I just want to check something in the dive plan first. Just checking, because it does say to deploy a marker if we find areas over 5, but since we're maybe not doing a squeezer sample, it's possible that she wants us to keep having a look around.
Yeah, you may have a hard time
Yeah.
with the marker here. I mean, we could, but
It's like they want to also collect like a rock sample. I don't see how you're going to collect all of that, so maybe we can keep going, unless I hear otherwise from anyone in the meantime. So I think those areas of dark sediment are maybe no, I was just gonna say maybe what to keep an eye out for. But yeah, maybe having a look around these kind of cracks and crevices around the edge would be helpful. So I guess that we're looking for like a bigger, I guess we're looking for a larger spot of fluid flow before we do all of the stuff, probably. Because it's like if we find above 5, there's loads of things we're supposed to do, but we didn't want it right there, so I guess maybe we'll look for a more substantial spot. I think that's probably the way forwards. Yeah, like put a marker in this instance. This is where we find like octopus big snazzy venting site. Yeah, that's right here. Yeah, I would say so. So we're just keeping an eye out for any more promising looking spots for temperature probing around the edge of this site. We're sort of up at the peak right now, doing a little loop. So let's say indications would be shimmering fluid flow, areas of dark rock like the one we just saw there, where the sediment has been kind of blown away from the surface of the rock, or brooding octopus. All of those have been good indications so far. There's some big sponges on the side of here. There is an octopus. We can go and have a quick look while we're here, I guess. It doesn't look like it's brooding. And it doesn't look like it's in a obviously sort of fluid dischargey type of area, but we'll go and have a look. Typically when the octopus are brooding, we've seen them underneath sort of ledges or in cracks in the rock, but kind of upside down with their tentacles curled up over the tops of their mantles, which isn't what this one seems to be doing. Can we have the lasers off for a second, please? Thank you. Thanks. I guess, can we turn around and sort of just have a view of the side of these rocks here with all of these cracks and crevices? Yeah, I don't see anything really obvious right now. It's a very small sort of summit that we're just looping around, so it'd be nice to just take our time and look very carefully around the edges of here. Would it be possible to drop down a little bit and just peek into some of these little sort of caves? Because it's tricky, because these will also probably not have very much sediment in them just because of the fact that they're a little cave. Maybe we can keep moving around the edge. Ooh. There's a little fish living down there.
Bridge, updated position. Updated waypoint, thank you.
Some really interesting rock formations here, lots of overhangs and quite complex structures. Oh, some sort of huge galatheid peeking out from in there as well. Those galatheid squat lobsters. Oh, there's an. Can we have a quick look at that octopus just to see what it looks like it's doing? A fish. Actually, is that an octopus? might also be a sea star. My eyes might be deceiving me, but we can go and have a look. I think it might be a starfish. I think I might just be blind.
I thought it was the tooth at first.
Maybe we can have a quick zoom just to be sure. I think it's, yeah, I think it's a sea star. False alarm. Wow, look at this urchin on the right there. That's cool. These really long, intense spines. Look at that. Isn't it cool? Oh. That fish nearly got itself impaled on the urchin. Has to be careful. Mm. You want the urchin? Yeah, sure. Yes. Can we have a glamour shot and some lasers on and off and things of this urchin while we're here? Thank you. Very cool. Uh-huh. Do you want like a still shot for a second before the lasers? Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. So we can just have that view for maybe 5 seconds or something and then put the lasers on. Thank you. You can see it moving its spines. That's cool. There are the lasers there. So the actual main body of the urchin's not that big, maybe 3 or 4 centimeters across, but with those spines, it's probably more like 25 to 30 centimeters across. Perfect. Are you wanting any more views of it? Happy with that? Okay. Okay. I'm going to jump off now. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. This is Jorge Cortez from University of Costa Rica. I'll be here for the next hour. And with me annotating is Myla from Brazil. Muy buenas tardes, buenas noches, buenos días. Les habla Jorge Cortés de la Universidad de Costa Rica. Voy a acompañarlos durante la próxima hora en este sitio. Y me acompaña aquí haciendo anotaciones Myla, que es una estudiante de Brasil. De cualquiera.
De los suicidios, de los dramas. Un drama que tenga por lo menos una ramificación.
Hello, Chris.
Hello. How are you?
Good, good.
Yes.
You want to do a comp?
We can do the comp one. Are we okay to turn the camera around a little bit? Are you okay with that? Sorry. If we turn the camera.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do one at
Every rotation. If we want to turn those lowers off, I get it. Boom. And then I'll open up the
names.
1 second. Can you read the left one?
Did Emily talk to you about the map?
No.
Okay. It's easier to see on Scott's, but this is fine. Where it says waypoint 1,
Uh-huh.
that's where we were spending most of the morning at that spot. and then they've come up and over. And the idea is just to explore around this pink area, maybe coming around the south, and just seeing if there's any more evidence of venting. There was one other spot that we saw 2 days ago that was like under a ledge, but it's probably a relatively small feature. So I think we do this for another hour, just explore. Maybe if we see things, so we've already, for instance, gotten this. We got those. We got so if there's other target species we see associated with venting, then we should try to collect them.
Okay.
And then in about an hour, I think we'll move on to just doing some standard transects and then go to this one, so that we have enough time to get out here and do those measurements.
Okay, great.
Chris, is there a way to increase or decrease the snail trail?
Hit quick trail.
Oh, is there a way to increase it once it starts going away?
Oh, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that once it starts to give up the ghost, it's just
it is what it is.
I think so. I've never thought about it before, so I can't really say 100% that's true.
Yeah. Okay. That was just asking, but I'm pretty sure this is descend. It bottom came up, sampled, and then like this is basically all we've done this launch. I mean, this whole shift. Dive. Yeah.
You heard what's the idea? We'll go around the pink area. Okay. To south, southwest. Yeah. And then move around and see, and this side, this is some ledges.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and start doing that now. All right.
Lasers on you, sir?
No.
So look for evidence of venting.
Look for cool stuff.
The warm stuff.
Okay. All right, fair.
Okay, we're gonna start moving here. Here sitting with me is Chris, pilot, and second pilot is Mike, and Alex at the other end with the comments and guiding us through this dive.
Can you bring up your sonar for me?
Yes.
A bit different terrain up here than what we had down at the nursery.
Stuff in the water.
Those are, yeah, organisms that we see in the water. It's not dust or anything. It's little creatures, little animals, like crustaceans just passing by. We've seen this a couple times before. Lo que vemos son organismos nadando. Van pasando probablemente unos crustáceos pequeños. Ya hemos visto en varias partes y a veces parecen los sedimentos que se levantan cuando se mueve el ROV. We're going to go around this summit of this outcrop, looking for venting and checking out the organism. Let's see that guy, the sea urchin. I mean the sea cucumber.
Chris,
Chris,
I want you to zoom
here.
in.
Oh, which the one?
This one here.
Oh, okay.
It looks like one of these we're looking for. This side is about over 200 kilometers from the Pacific coast of northern part of Costa Rica, of Guanacaste, and we're here at let me see, 2.81 kilometers, and temperature out there is 1.8 degrees. And can see an octopus there, and we're gonna check out a sea urchin. Bien, aquí estamos en este afloramiento rocoso. Están más de 215 kilómetros de la costa pacífica de Costa Rica, a 2.8 kilómetros de profundidad y con una temperatura allá abajo de 1.8 grados centígrados. Estamos aquí instalándonos para hacer unas tomas de un pepino de mar. And then once we settle, we'll take a look at that also.